am delighted to have Eric Fusilera and Chris Visaya with us today from Splunk. Eric has been a long-term appreciator of the Working Connections event, even when he worked for a previous employer. And we're going to have to talk to you, Eric. We really did like those cocktail hours that you funded along the way.
Let's do them.
That was great fun, and it actually was a good time for communication and to learn about Splunk and to learn about each other, and hopefully we'll get to do that next year. Eric is also a member of the Business and Industry Leadership Team for the Convergence Technology Center. He's responsible for learning activities for customers, partners, and Splunkers. I guess that's the technicians, huh? Okay. Anyway, existing and future. He actually is, again, totally dedicated to increasing learning. And he, again, has been a very strong involved person with our Working Connections events. Chris is new to us this time. Chris is the Senior Manager for Education Delivery for Splunk. And I have to relate to you, Chris, I actually was hired at Novell many years ago and was hired initially to be the Worldwide Training Director. So I did your job for Novell years and years ago. Anyway, very long story short, he assembles the folks that train. He has the teams set up to handle training for a global audience, both live, online, and on demand. And I think there's one key thing in his bio that really strikes me as important. He motivates those teams. And that's a big, big, important part for learning. If you really want to learn and you can convince the people you're talking to that you really, really, really want to learn, that it's a really good thing. And I think we're delighted to have you, Chris. We're delighted to have you, Eric. And I'm going to go on mute and turn my camera off, and I'm going to enjoy the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me share. Sound. Great. All right, so can everyone hopefully see the slide and screen?
Yeah, looks good.
First of all, great. Thanks everyone for joining us and for having Chris and myself here. To the comment earlier regarding I'll just call it swag, Mark, that you mentioned. Had I known that was desired, we would have definitely sent ours over, even though we also don't have a session. So we will keep that in mind and maybe send it ahead of any of our next discussion. So again, thank you all for having us here. The title of our talk today is "The Data Age is Here. Are you ready?" And if not, that's why we're here. We want to help you, as Splunk is here to empower everyone to turn data into doing and enable you to thrive in the data age. And so when you think about what the data age is, right, and how Splunk enables it, what I thought I'd do is sort of start with a video, which is always a fun way, especially after your lunch break.
This year, we've all learned what happens when our limits are tested. When our Wi-Fi is tested. When our patience is tested. But technology, it delivered. And all of you delivered. Welcome. Welcome to the data age. You harness the power of data to keep us connected, make our businesses function, maintain the safety of supply chains and communities. What is the data age? It isn't about the devices. It's about the power of data to make things happen. That's why we've designed the world's first data-to-everything platform, so data heroes like you can keep us all moving forward. It's no small task. That's why we've completely reimagined what Splunk can be. Re-architecting in the cloud, innovating beyond the index, unleashing the raw power of AI and observability. In other words, this isn't your grandmother's Splunk. We are bringing data to IT, security, DevOps, and beyond. Your teams need to bring data to everything like the world depends on it, because, well, it does. Together, we can turn data into doing. So let's get started. It's time to rock the data age.
So if you are new to Splunk, that just gives you a little glimpse in terms of who we are and what we do. And as you heard, the data age is here. It's being driven by new technologies that we all interact with every day. And they're designed to support the needs of today, improve all of our lives in the long term, even though in some cases that may be debatable. But whether it's 5G, whether it's IoT, whether it's robotic process automation, blockchain, AI, VR, right, etc. Those are all here. And as the video showed, the data age is not about these devices or these technologies. The data age is about the data that they generate and the power of that data to make things happen. And as we all feel probably every day, is that data is transforming everything we do, whether we like it or not, the way we work, the way we live, the way we play. And you can look at it in terms of whether it's personalized recommendations that we all receive, whether it's for movies like in Netflix or Hulu, or dining recommendations like in Yelp, or maybe it's around patient care and personalized medical care plans and treatments, to all the different connected devices that exist, like robots and holographics and AR and VR, that really are there to enhance operational efficiency and create more immersive experiences. However, what we keep seeing is that bringing data to all of these varied situations in our lives so that data can be turned into action requires planning. Why? Because there are so many challenges, as I'm sure everyone sort of feel, are existing to overcome. Starting with, how do you get your hands around all of that data? With the numerous data silos, the data lakes, the ever-increasing volume and the variety of data. And the biggest one is the velocity at which that data is generated. Now at Splunk, we have this data everything platform. It's a future-ready portfolio of capabilities that we believe helps everyone overcome these challenges. How? And some of it you sort of captured in the video, is by enabling everyone to get all of their data in one place, from any source, in any structure, at any time scale, whether it's static or whether it's very rapid, and then leverage the capabilities of the portfolio and the platform to do 4 key things. 1, investigate. 2, monitor. 3, analyze that data. And the biggest thing is now act upon it. In addition to all of these capabilities, we offer these features below around stream processing, federated search, machine learning, collaboration, and orchestration, right? To sort of round out that capability and make sure that everyone can take action on that data. Now, I know I just threw a lot at you, so let me do this and hand it over to Chris, who will show you a sample of that magic behind the platform, and put it a little bit more closer to what you do. So Chris, let me stop sharing and hand it back over to you.
I just wanted to say thank you, Anne, for that nice intro. I appreciate that. And I hope to grow up to be like you someday.
There you go, Chris.
Okay, thank you so much. So let me pull this up here. Let me make sure I'm sharing my right screen. And so, hey folks, you should be looking at Splunk. And what I'm doing right now, or what I'm going to walk through, is I'm going to take us on a tour to, just like Eric showed us, investigate some systems that are not performing optimally by using monitoring tools here inside of Splunk, which will help us analyze and find the root cause of what's going on to hopefully come to a conclusion that can help us act to either triage or solve the issue. And so for those of you that have used Splunk before, this should feel like a familiar screen. For those of you who have not, when you log into Splunk for the first time via the web interface, this is what you see. And before I actually go into the demo, the last thing I want to preface this is by saying that everything that we are doing here is self-contained inside of the Splunk platform. Okay, and it's super cool. I'll walk you through this, and then I'll hand it back to Eric. So I've logged in. I'm going to look at the IT Service Intelligence app, and I'm going to be taken to what's called our Service Analyzer. Let me remove some of the noise here on the screen so we can just focus on this. Every dot that we see here on the screen is a service. Now, what a service is something that's critical to some portion of the company in order to run the business. And I know that was very vague. That's because it's intentionally very vague. With Splunk, you may have gotten this from the video. We can ingest any kinds of data from any businesses, from any domains. And as long as we can get that into Splunk, we can define any services. So if your students graduate and they work in the airline aviation industry, analyzing that data, they could define a service like airplane maintenance. And the quality of their airplane maintenance could be dependent on factors like the readiness of the technician, the quality of the tools, the availability of open hangars, et cetera. It just so happens in this case, we are pretend employees for this company that has a service called the kiosk system for people to log into our website and interact with our products and services. Okay, so each dot is a service. Services can be anything. In our imaginary world right now, we are looking at a service to allow people to interact with their products and services on our site. Now, the way this is laid out should hopefully make it clear that services can depend on each other. So in other words, the database service impacts the middleware service, which in turn impacts the kiosk and agent interface services, which finally impact the kiosk system overall. Okay, so as I walk through this, just put your imaginary hats on. Services can be anything. And one thing I do want to mention here too is that green means good, red means bad, and there's different colors between green and red that say how bad are we really talking about. So the baddest thing here is this database service. Something is going wrong. And so I, as an IT analyst here who's supporting these systems, this would be a good spot to try and investigate. Our kiosk system is not green. And if I look at this whole thing, the database here is what's messing things up the most. So let's click on that to take a look at this service. Now, within every service are key performance indicators, or KPIs for short. And most of these KPIs are good. They're green, and we call the severity there as normal. But two of the KPIs are not good. They're red, and we call that the severity of critical, the database service response time and the storage free space percentage. So if I were to click on one of these, like the storage free space percentage, we can see that we have 4 SQL servers, 4 MySQL servers. MySQL server 1, 2, 3, 4. Most of them, or 2 of them are good. One of them is not so good, but one of them, MySQL server number 2, has gone critical. And so this physical SQL server, it going critical, has impacted the overall database service. I can see more information about the MySQL server by clicking on this link, and we can confirm, yep, right now our storage free space based on the Spark line is 0. And if we can step back for a second and understand how things are happening from a topographical standpoint, if my storage is 0, of course, that means this server is essentially out of commission, which reduces the load that we could serve up to our customers. So this is an issue. And in a matter of a few minutes, we've gone from logging into Splunk to identifying, hey, this is something that we should take action on, okay? But we still didn't quite find the root cause for why this is going bad. So I wanted to show another facet, another UI here inside of Splunk called the deep dive. And the deep dive swim lanes allows us to look at data across time next to each other. So it gives us, the human beings, a chance to perhaps find some kind of visual correlation between the data points. And so coming back to the, I think it was the storage free space, that's what we were looking at, we can see that as it goes bad here from orange to red, notice that the service errors increases. And as the service errors increases, the response time also increases. We don't want service errors at all. We want the response time to be fast, not slow. So we don't want this to increase. And as all of these things go red, we can see the overall service health score go red. And so as part of my investigation and analysis to figure out what's going on here, I can also look at data that we've ingested from external ticketing systems, in this case, ServiceNow, and I can see that there is one event, a password change request for this account, SF scheduled, who happens to be a junior admin. And okay, so a junior admin asked to change their account. Soon after the change request went into play, we can check our Windows security event logs and we can see, whoops, All right, when I get into presentation mode, my mouse clicks are missing. Oh my gosh, wow. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Okay, I zoomed out a little bit. Now let me zoom in again so it's a little easier to read. And we can see that there are Windows event logs that are happening right now saying that the account was locked out. So this is very clearly indicative of a user, an admin requesting a change to their password, them logging in a lot and not being able to get into the system, which caused nobody to get into the system to perform maintenance, to do things like archiving data or disk flushing, which caused the database to get filled, and now it's gone out of commission. So again, in a matter of a few more minutes, I found what the problem was, which is a people problem. And so either we need to train up this admin or improve our services for, hey, why don't we have some redundancy and have a couple of admins? Pretty cool, right? Now, everything I showed you was pointing and clicking because this was something that has already been architected by some Splunk experts. But I wanted to show you, coming back to the service analyzer, that every single one of these services have KPIs, and every single one of these KPIs is pulling from some Splunk search. So if I were to just click on one and say, let's run the search, we can see the search that's happening behind the scenes that powers that particular data point. And for those of you that have not used Splunk before, and it's okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. This is the kind of search string that somebody had to configure to yield this data. And remember, this is for one KPI from one service. And if I zoomed in a lot, so that messed it up. And you can see we've got a bunch of services here. So the success of us using Splunk here to monitor these services is highly dependent on having skilled people who can, it's hard for me to navigate my tabs with the Zoom interface up top. It's highly dependent on people being able to understand and use this. And so this is exactly the sort of thing that we teach in training. And I hope, to see some of you folks in the training that is included to get everyone here skilled up to start using our product, because it's pretty darn awesome. And that was my demo here. Can I hand it back to you here, Eric?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
What Chris showed you is how many of our customers thrive in the data age, right? To investigating their data, to monitoring their data, to analyzing their data, and then informing them in terms of how do they act upon that data. More than 20,000 customers and 20,000 customers across 100 countries rely on Splunk to improve all of the operational efficiencies that you saw, whether it's improving service levels, IT operations, mitigate security risks, which we seem to hear about on a regular basis, and then drive new levels of operational visibility. I just sort of captured 4 customer stories here. All of them have links. I just want to sort of share one of them, and there's many more to go through. And one that I think is quite prevalent to probably one we use every day, at least I do, is Yelp. And so let me just sort of share this customer story. And that's Yelp.
Yelp's mission is to bring consumers and local businesses together in ways that are not possible otherwise. There's well in excess of 10 terabytes of data flowing through Yelp every day. Prior to using Splunk, our log data was actually in a variety of disparate data sources. With Splunk, we're now able to bring them all together into a centralized place and take actionable insight on multiple data sets, including log data, database data, and data from third parties, all together in the same interface, and then provide beautiful visualizations that are actionable and available to business users with minimum level of engineering investment. Splunk has improved how Yelp develops and deploys new applications by giving us direct insight into the code deployment process and monitoring in real time our server fleet to ensure that code deployments are smooth and error-free to be able to deliver features to users as fast and reliably as possible. It was very easy for our non-technical teams to implement Splunk, simply because once the reports had been created, the visualizations were clean and beautiful, and we didn't do any training when we rolled it out. We simply gave the users access and explained the visualizations that they were being presented with, and they were up and running. The real-time nature of Splunk is extremely important to us to be able to address the real-time needs of our business. Food delivery happens in real time. A key component of customer satisfaction is being able to take real-time action on their order and ensure they get things on time every time. No one likes waiting around for their food to be delivered. With Splunk's help, we're making those wait times as short as possible. I don't believe there's any other product in the market that's able to quickly bring together the diverse data sets, offer the powerful language to the engineers to be able to do the analysis, and then ultimately deliver beautiful, visual, actionable reports to the business users.
Yeah, hopefully that video sort of gives you an indication that, sort of what Chris was showing you is not smoke and mirrors, it's actually being used on a regular basis. But one thing that's sort of critical to sort of note is that, to achieve some of these customer outcomes, Splunk does a lot to ensure that companies not only have the technology and the systems that they need, but also the process, and most importantly, as what Chris mentioned, is that the people have what they need, so they can deliver on these innovations, so they can deliver on their data and digital transformations. And so one thing that we're very passionate is empowering everyone to turn data into doing. And that's exactly what we do across all levels of any organization, with either built-in capabilities in the platform, or from our standpoint, education to support all levels of data proficiency and technical skills, whether you're a data scientist on the left-hand side, or a developer who builds Splunk apps and custom dashboards, to admins, or to what Chris just showed you is, how does a business user, how does an analyst take advantage of Splunk and interact with real-time data dashboards and reports to truly drive action? In addition to everything that I mentioned in terms of the platform and the education, there's an entire community and ecosystem that's designed to help folks on their journey. Now, what we've been talking about is, yes, it's all great and it's beneficial to the company, but one thing that's critically important is that it's also beneficial to the individual. And so when you look at what we've got here, having data expertise unlocks incredible careers. And I think that's probably important to you and your students and your institutions. In a State of Splunk Skills report, this is some of the data that was gleaned as part of that report, where data expertise is shown to open career doors and opportunities, but also it leads to greater earning potential, job satisfaction, which I think is important to everybody, job security and job mobility, because data expertise is sort of where everything is. I mean, in fact, in the Future of Jobs report, and that's a link on the bottom right-hand side, it's predicted by 2025, which is just around the corner, that data and artificial intelligence and cloud computing will be the top emerging professions of the future. And so with that said, we want to be here to help you and your students on their data journey with Splunk that can lead them to incredible opportunities and enable them to flourish in the face of any uncertainty in their future. And so another piece just to mention that we wanted to call out is that this just hopefully gives a little bit more gravity, if you will, to the situation, which is that in this recent jobs report, using just one employment website for job listings, it continually indicates the fact that there's such a demand for Splunk skills. If you just look at 44,000 annualized jobs that go available, if you will, from year to year. So I guess one thing I want to end on is, how can you thrive in the data age? And one reason why we're here is we would like to partner with you. We want to make sure that we're here to help you with the future of your programs and your students, and make sure that we together can help develop the future workforce the world needs. We believe that by partnering with us, there's many benefits on the left-hand side that can help, again, your institution, you yourselves, the faculty, but also your students in general, whether it's access to us, access to a library of assets and materials, access to, so that your students can learn in-demand skills, get real-world hands-on experience, but also graduate with very viable careers going forward. And so what we've done is really sort of tried to create a set of offerings and collaboration options that you can get started with right now and then grow with us. And just so you know that we're here to partner with you across each one of these different options, whether it's an on-demand option on the far right-hand side, which is very low touch, and you can begin to sort of pull those into your programs and offer them as you will. There's a basic offering in the middle that's really sitting adjacent to your programs, that we can look at in terms of how do we get your students badges and certifications. To the far left one, which is much more advanced from the standpoint, it's, how do we design this into your program and make it more integrated and aligned to your KSAs and outcomes. And that's what we want to make sure is that regardless of which one that you choose, let us work with you. Let us empower you to create data heroes, which you saw in the video, so that as far as what we can see and what we believe in is to help everyone bring data to everything, to every question, every decision, and every action, because data is in everything. And so I'll end you with this. So with that, we just want to make sure that you had everything that you need. You knew how you knew who Splunk was, how we participate in the data age, the program offerings that we can bring to you. And to get started, contact Chris or myself, and we're happy to sort of work with you on any one of those options. Again, we thank you for joining us on your lunch break. Hopefully this wasn't too burdensome in terms of the information. We wish you a great rest of your event.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Take
everyone.
care, everyone.
Thanks.